Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, this does not work without you guys. It has been a crazy week. Actually, it's been a crazy several months going on here. If somebody had said to me on New Year's that in 2020 we would end up having all sports stop, kids not going to school, 40 million people unemployed, and protests and rioting across the country, I would have said, is it the end of the world? I'd say, you crazy. No, that's not going to happen. But here we are. It's all happening. Understand, I'm not going to talk about that stuff a whole lot right now, but understand this. When I do construction work, my biggest problem is finishing. It's that last 2-3% that drives me crazy. I hate the punch list. I get gangbusters about doing everything and getting into it, getting the demo done, getting the walls up, hanging the drywall. But it's just that last little. It's hard for me. And it doesn't matter that you had a house that was falling down and that you saved it, that you restored it. What they're gonna focus on is, there's a little bit of blue on the crown molding right up in there. Never mind that the place was full of mold and you couldn't walk on the floor because you'd fall through. They're not going to see all that. They're going to see that little spot where the blue paint touched the crown mold. And see, this is where we are right now. 98-99% of the protests are peaceful. It's that 1% that gets covered. It's that guy who's running around with a knife chasing kids with that the tail end of him getting beat up is what's going to be covered. And I'm not condoning anybody beating anybody, but you did need to do the guy that's running around with a knife stopping the kids. So I'm not going to go there with who's right and who's wrong and anything like that. I'm just saying that we're missing the essence of what's going on, and we're only picking and choosing parts of it. And that's all I'm going to have to say about that, other than my thoughts, my prayers, and my hopes go out for our country and everybody in it. Everybody. So, the great philosopher Jimmy Johnson said, if you're gonna talk the talk, walk the walk. And the way I look at it is this. If you're man enough to say something, then you need to back it up. Or if you're wrong, you need to be man enough to admit when you're wrong. Own your shit, as my wife would say. And I was wrong. Because I thought for sure once the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones was able to get the star back open, that we would see Dak Prescott's deal done. That it was Jerry Jones wanting the limelight of you're making Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. Because he likes the press. You got to think that this time with the corona of having to be locked on his boat and not being out there to have this weekly press conference, you got to understand that that's killing him. And he wants something big, I mean big, to talk about. I just felt that. And that's where I figured that last week or this, the week before or this past week, that's when we would have seen the deal done, because you saw him. He's been in his office now for over a week. Star's got employees there. That they would hammer and get this thing done since they've gotten everything else done this off season. But I was wrong. And I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. And I wish others would own up to their own shit. When you see people on ESPN or Fox Sports and things like that who have been out and out wrong, they never own up to their mistakes. They've gone out and sullied people's names and yet never come back and say, you know what, we were wrong on that. We apologize for running you through the ringer. You never hear that. But as far as the deal goes, because, we saw people saying the Cowboys don't believe in Dak Prescott. That's why they ain't signed him. No, the Cowboys do what the Cowboys are doing. They're trying to make sure they get a good deal. Or at least the appearance of a good deal. And they also, of course, like the publicity. Let's be honest here. The Dallas Cowboys aren't the most valuable franchise because they're winning Super Bowls every year. They're the most valuable franchise because they get more publicity than anybody else. And how do you keep the publicity going? Get people talking about everything that is. And here it is. You either love Dak or you hate Dak. But they're going to talk about Dak. You either love the Cowboys or hate the Cowboys. But they're going to talk about the Cowboys. You may not like what Jerry Jones does. You may love what Jerry Jones does. But they're definitely going to talk about what Jerry Jones does. And by all of that publicity, all that talk, all that hype, is why they make so much money. It's why Dan Orlovsky says negative shit about the Dallas Cowboys because, well, it's the way of making a name for himself. He's a hanger-on. So as far as this deal being done, it'll probably end up being closer to the July 15th date. Because, see, if you're Dak Prescott, you're in no hurry to go ahead and hurry up and get a deal done, just say, I got my deal done. Time is actually on your side if you're Dak Prescott because the Texans, one of their linemen, they went ahead and restructured his deal to save themselves another $2.5 million. They're working on getting space. See, they actually have $20 million cap space, and they can put an extension on for Deshaun Watson now. They've got the money on it. Kansas City's got to make more moves to try and do something because they only have, I think, $2 or $3 million to get Pat Mahomes done. But it behooves both of those teams because they understand that the television contract is going to be redone after the 21 season. And they want to get ahead of all that new money coming in. So it behooves them to get that deal done. If you're Dak Prescott and you know Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes are going to reset the market, that strengthens your position. And your position right now is, I'm okay with $35 million a year. I just don't want 5 years, which is what the Dallas Cowboys want. Now understand, the last quarterback to sign a 5-year deal was Matty Ice, and he was the first $30 million man. Since that time, quarterbacks are signing 4 years extensions or less. Kirk Cousins, 3-year deal. 2 years into it, gets 2 more years added onto it. So if you're Dak Prescott, the worst case scenario for you is I play at $31.5 million. If I don't get that deal, well, I got to make sure I don't get hurt during the season. But the numbers will just continue to go up. Even if the Cowboys franchise tag you, the normal from year 1 to year 2 would end up being $39 million for the franchise tag if nothing changes. But if Deshaun Watson gets a deal for, say, 36, 37, let's say Pat Mahomes gets a deal that's $40 million, that number keeps going more north. Or you become a free agent. So, from the standpoint of Dak, I don't have to hurry. Now, if you're the Cowboys, you're going to have a little more sense of urgency on that. And it may be that they end up caving in on that 4th year, or they come up real big on that 5th year. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. But, yeah. We got a month and a half, 6 weeks to get that deal done. We'll see where it goes. Everybody, be safe out there. Be safe out there. I got me a pork shoulder up here that's going to be smoking all night. And I'm going to go get some more wood up in there and make sure it's good and smoky. And tomorrow we're going to have barbecue. All right, people. I'll see you.